Hi, everybody. This is Chris,
And this is Matt.
and this is Rise of the Triad. But
Yes, it is.
it is not a review.
No, we
No,
wouldn't dare attempt to review a video game.
we don't review video games. I actually, because someone challenged us on, like, you guys are doing reviews. These are reviews. The reviews. They're a review the way a book report is a review. It's not a review, it's our experience with the game,
Right.
which is different.
It's an emotional journey, and much like a child's book review, often we did not read the book all the way through.
I hadn't drawn that similarity to it, but also correct.
Also correct.
Because we do this on a time limit, not on a thing. Like, we play the game for a month. And we actually do 2 games a month. One is what we call our long game. That will be Rise of the Triad this month. And then we have a short game where we can probably get through it in a day or so. And we play it, and it's fine. It's fun.
And we play varying amounts based on how much fun we're having with the game, because we don't want to be beholden to beating a monster of a game and or
Yeah.
playing something that's really terrible and frustrating.
Yeah. If we're going to play a monster of a game and try to beat it, we'll do it on our live streams, which we'll get back to here soon. We have thoughts, but we're trying to organize things to make something happen. So if you've been waiting for those, they're coming. Hang on. Yeah.
This thus concludes the business portion.
That's old business, on to new business.
Yes.
And by new business, I mean 1994 for your shareware business, 1995 for your full version of business.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was pure 1995 goodness, but it's not. It hit the ground in 94,
Right.
back when shareware, which I thought was a fantastic model, and a lot of these games used it, and it was great.
I love the shareware model. I'm going to get it spinning up here. And a lot of games, the shareware part is all I played.
Yep.
But I never felt the urge to pirate the other part. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right. If you wanted more, you could buy it. If you didn't,
that's fine. That's
like
cool.
you played the first segment, you got what you wanted, you're done.
So let's talk about Tom Hall here, our creative director.
Yeah, Tom Hall, ex-id, right? Is that what you were going to say?
Xed, right?
He disagreed about some of the design elements of Doom, and that caused him to go to Apogee.
Yeah. If you want to hear more about that, get Masters of Doom book, I want to say that was called. God, I can't remember it now. I'll look it up while you talk a little more.
Yeah, so he left. He was part of Softdisk initially, and they did like a monthly thing with a bunch of games on it. And then he was at id. He worked on Commander Keen, Wolfenstein 3D, and then after Wolfenstein came out and they started working on Doom, he disagreed with Carmack, and then he left to join Apogee, which later became 3D Realms.
Mm-hmm.
So he worked on Terminal Velocity, which we played like not that long ago.
Yep.
And loved. And he worked on Duke Nukem 3D, which we played the shit out of back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done a lot of stuff that we really liked.
Yeah. Apropos of nothing, Duke's 25th anniversary is this January.
Wow.
For anyone doing Guess What's Coming on Lost Sectors bingo.
Right.
But yeah, so he did a lot of stuff we like. And he made this. And one of the most interesting things about this, I think, is that this uses the Wolfenstein engine, not the Doom engine.
Right. And it made significant, I would say, improvements to it.
I would too.
It's quasi 3D. You can look up, you can look down, you can fly. There's multiple levels.
On a technical level, this is like a fork in the road next to Doom, where Doom had some things it did better. I would argue this actually had some things it did better.
I would agree with that. I feel like the technology in this game is possibly more revolutionary than Doom. because I think the sprites are generally better. The worlds feel a little richer. But the problem is that it's ridiculous.
There is a description in Dungeons and Dragons for a type of adventure called a funhouse dungeon. And what a funhouse dungeon is, for those who don't know or don't play or have never heard the term before, you'll walk into one room and there'll be a statue that asks you a riddle out loud, just a riddle that makes no sense to the rest of the dungeon. And you answer it and the door opens and you go into the next room and there's vats of acid that you got to try and figure out how to get a gem out of the bottom of. And then you go in the next room and even though all the doors are human sized, there's a giant red dragon in it. These are all cool things. Mm-hmm. But there is no attempt to argue why they should be next to each other.
Right. This game had no editing done at all. So if you've ever been part of a brainstorming session, sometimes people say this thing at the beginning, like, hey, no dumb ideas. But, there are dumb ideas.
I was going to say, first off, they're liars. Second off...
right. That's just to, Tom, I'm talking to you, Tom Hall. That's just something people say so people aren't afraid to contribute. That's not a literal thing. That doesn't mean,
doesn't mean use them all.
yeah, someone's like, God mode, and Tom's like, great idea. And someone's like, hey, dog mode. And Tom was like, great idea. And they're like, no, Tom. I was just kidding. Don't put dog mode in. He's like, no, it's in. You become a dog. It's just like God mode, but you're a dog. It's in. We're putting it in. Don't put everything in the game. Everything is in this game.
Yeah. There's a design creative quote called, I don't know the exact wording, but I'll get the premise because for some reason my brain's not on this morning. Don't be afraid to kill your babies. Don't be afraid when you've got an idea that you just love to sometimes let it go for the project.
Yeah.
This could have used some of that because, okay, you mentioned how good the sprites are, and I want to talk about that because the sprites are. I really loved the sprites.
They're not cartoony.
They're not cartoony. They're. I absolutely just loved that part of it. Every single sprite I loved. It doesn't fit with the level design.
Right.
It would be similar to if you went on Steam and saw made by Unity and you've noticed they've bought 8 things from the asset store and made no attempt to stitch them together.
Right.
That's what this feels like.
And this was supposed to be the sequel to Wolfenstein. This is like Wolfenstein Part 2. And when I was playing this, I thought about, do you remember in Wolfenstein 3D when you kill Hitler, it cuts to the death cam and it says death cam TM and it shows Hitler dying?
Yeah.
As a kid, I loved that, but as an adult, I'm like, that's kind of weird because it breaks the fourth wall a little bit. It doesn't, it's a little unnecessary. And this game is like that. It's not. They're
but it's not like that once. It's like that every 3 steps. It's like that.
Right. They're kind of Nazis, but you're in this monastery thing.
Yeah, it got away from the Nazis. It made it a cult that lives on an island that's going to blow up Los Angeles. And your team is trapped there because they blew up your boat, so you can't go back. You've got to finish the mission.
Yeah.
You'll see I actually have the intro play here in a few seconds when I'm done messing with all the settings and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because I do think it's interesting to go back and look at all the settings menus and how they did stuff back in the old days. Because, you shrink, again, this is the shrink your screen size so that it goes faster or slower.
Right.
And you can overexpand to where you have no HUD information. And it's cool. It's good tech. It's interesting.
Yeah, look at those hands.
Yeah, those are great hands for that time. Doom didn't look that good.
No. Nope.
No. The artist on this didn't get paid enough. Just that simple.
Yeah.
Whatever it was they got paid, it wasn't enough because they did an amazing sprite job with all of it.
But one of the problems with this game is that you can see that they used a lot of, especially in this first level when you're just kind of entering the monastery, they used a lot of really wide open spaces, which was revolutionary, but it really highlights the low resolution of the sprites, because at more than like 30 feet, all those
That
bad
beauty.
guys look like sprite soup.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't want to lose these wide open spaces, but they didn't have the technology to make these Nazi dudes look good at a distance. So you end up shooting at white blotches of pixels most of the time.
I think it also goes to show how good Romero was at building levels and how integral he was to Wolfenstein and Doom being stuff, because without the intent of the level or desire to design, not only does it make all the sprites get small and just turn into soup, you really notice this is the Wolfenstein engine. And we talked about how it's got a lot of pluses to it, but one of the big drawbacks is it's cubes. It's 90 degree every time. There are no 30 degree or 45 degree angles in this. There's no cubby holes. How they made multiple levels is these are sprites that are bopping up and down, and you climb on them and it lifts you up and down, but they're not actual geometry.
Right.
And that's fine, and it's awesome, but
yeah, it's great technology. The level design in this game is also good, I think. Like, they're really creative. They're really puzzle based. There's areas where you're like, I know I can get there. The main problem I had with that, though, was that you don't know. You feel like you're missing something a lot of the times, and later you just end up there, and it's like part of the level.
I had someone describe to me the two ways writers write. One is the George R.R. Martin, where you create an interesting character in an interesting world, and you follow them through it, and even you as the author don't know where they're going to end up. And thus your main characters may die because they do something stupid. Or you can take something like The Dragon Prince, where I've got a good idea, and I've got a good idea, and I've got a good idea, and I'm going to stitch them together. This feels like they tried to do a Dragon Prince style, where it's I've got a good idea, and I've got a good idea, and I've got a good idea, with no attempt to stitch them together. And it ends up really running hot and cold. So that's why, like, I see what you're saying about there being good level design in, like, chunks. But as an actual level, I don't agree. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I pretty much agree with you. Like, there's simple puzzles, there's problem solving, there's flexible ways to do things, which are all hallmarks of really good level design.
So many secrets that open in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just doing a quick playthrough of this first level, and I die a lot on this, and then I get to the second and third level in this video. But every time I play it, I find different secrets and a different way to play, and different weapons drop. And each time, even though it's the same level, felt different. Which is cool.
Yeah.
But why are there jumpy pads?
Exactly. That's Nazis on jumpy pads is like the perfect summary for this game.
It's Zorro 3D Trampoline's Revenge. Sorry, go on, continue.
Exactly. It's just kind of odd from a tone perspective. And like, I thought the tone of the original Wolfenstein was a little this or that, because it's cartoony and it's really violent and there's Nazi shit everywhere and it's a little off-putting, especially with like modern sensibilities.
Right.
But I mean, this is just all over the place from a tone standpoint. Sometimes it feels spooky and scary, and sometimes it feels just absolutely batshit crazy. It's like Wolfenstein on methamphetamines.
Yeah. I think the thing about Wolf with the juxtapose the cartoon and the Nazis is that's almost, I don't know if it was a deliberate choice, but it's a consistent choice through the whole game, and it is a softening of a hard thing. You know what I mean? Like this, it's doing them at the same time. It's and not in the same place. Like you don't go through Wolfenstein and have a realistic Nazi flag and a cartoony Nazi. You just have it's always that flavor, but the content is the hard stuff with a overcoat. This has two different coats of paint, and
and they're weird. They didn't really double down on the Nazi thing the way they did in Wolfenstein, and obviously because it's not an id property, and like I think they wanted to make it something different.
Well, right. So like it was going to let him get away with using all this stuff, and then something happened and he kind of changed his mind, and when he realized, and this is Tom Hall, when he realized, oh, like he saw Doom and he's like, poof, like we can't do Wolfenstein. We have to go balls out crazy. And so they made this, and I think they did exactly what they intended to do.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like this is a muddled vision or something like that. They came back with a new vision after seeing Doom and made it. And
yeah,
I don't know. Like I'm not. I think I want to say like 16-year-old me would like this, but I think 16-year-old me would have hated this too, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I don't hate Rise of the Triad. I thought it was pretty fun. I played it, pretty consistently over the last month. I found it rewarding to beat the levels and solve the problems, and they did a lot of things really well in this game. But it doesn't feel like a cohesive thing. It doesn't feel like I'm on a journey that I particularly care about.
Right. And I guess that's... Go on.
I was going to say it's very like mid to late 90s in the way that it feels, because it's just like, let's just do all the weird shit. And like that's kind of how I think of the 90s. Like, we're gonna just do weird shit. Like we're gonna have Jim Rose Circus and industrial music, and it's just odd. Like, and this game is that.
Right.
It's Jim Rose Circus.
And that's sort of like, I guess hate it strong because I don't hate it. My feelings about it were genuinely as all over the place as the game is. I started out like, oh, here we go. I like the Hunt Special Forces group. I like the story we're getting into. And then I'm like, what am I looking at with, why are they on these up and down elevators in the air? And I know this is a cult, but isn't there some cult version of OSHA that should be talking about some of this shit? Like, why is this waiter trying to seat me at a table in the air above spinny propellers? I don't feel like that's right.
Right. Yeah.
And so then I was like, oh, I just don't like this, and struggled with it for a little bit. And then like started liking it again. And then I'm like, I mean, like you said, I like the pieces of it. I like the puzzles. I love finding the secrets. And if you can get in the right headspace for this, this is a cool game. If you're not in the right headspace for this, you're not going to have a good time.
Right. Like the weapons are totally insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a heat seeker, there's like drunk missiles and they just like fly everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just so odd.
I blow myself up with firebomb several times.
I blew myself up more than I was killed by the guards because I found the guards to be really pathetically easy to evade.
Not only evade, but like you can hide around a corner like this and just sort of shoot, and they'll just walk in. And
right.
And their hitboxes are huge.
Oh yeah,
like,
very generous.
I remember when, like GoldenEye helped get through, first-person shooters on consoles, but I want to say it was like Halo and Left 4 Dead that really broke that open.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at the time a lot of my PC friends being like, yeah, well, they're doing it with aim assist and, shitty hitboxes. And I'm going back and playing these games now and going, you guys were getting aim assist and shitty hitboxes.
Yeah.
Like I was able to hit people I couldn't see in this game by shooting at a corner.
Right.
I like in this game when you die, like there's a camera that'll go up to you and like spin around you and watch you explode. Like they brought the kill cam over, but for you. It's a little insulting, but at the same time funny. So
yeah, it's great when you burn to death because there's a little like tinkling noise that happens.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most surprising things to me about this game.
Mm-hmm.
There's explosive barrels, but they don't really explode very large. And
no.
I was like, this is Rise of the Triad. Like that should take out half the fucking level when these barrels explode, but they just kind of go poop.
I mean, if you remember, Wolfenstein didn't. Those barrels didn't explode.
No, they didn't explode at all.
It wasn't until Doom where stuff started exploding more. So it might just have been we didn't think of this yet.
Yeah, I mean, they made them explode.
Yeah, just not
like big where they take out
mm-hmm.
dudes. I just found that very interesting because the rest of the game is so batshit insane. And
these are subdued.
Like the thing that everyone remembers about this game is the ludicrous jibs.
Mm-hmm.
When you shoot a guy with a missile and like you can see their eyes fly out and their intestines and it says ludicrous jibs on the screen and it's like 12-year-old me loved that.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean 40-year-old me loves it too. It's fun.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by you got to be in the right mindset. This is a fun game, but you might not have fun with it. Does that make
mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah. It's definitely for a certain kind of person
and mindset. Like,
yeah,
because there are times where over the years, I go back and forth between, can I lighten up enough to just have fun with a game? And I have a hard time with that. And sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't. And if we played this game a different month, I would be saying different things right now.
Yeah.
So take everything I say with sort of that in the back of your head.
Yeah. It did so many interesting little things that, this mini map,
mm-hmm.
fantastic mini map, really good, really helps you deal with the largeness of the levels and
large levels too.
There's switches all over the place and you don't always know exactly what they're doing. And so the mini map is great. It really helps you. Sometimes when you shoot these troops, they'll like beg for their lives and then you have to shoot them. Sometimes they'll pretend to be dead and you'll like see a dead one and he'll just pop up and shoot you.
Yeah.
And like there's so many little things like that in this game that makes it, when you find them, it's like, oh, that's great. Like that's great stuff. These are the ideas from the brainstorming session that they definitely
keep.
Yeah. But like mushroom mode, did I need mushroom mode? Not really. Like
No.
I didn't need that. But even those things they used kind of well.
Yeah.
Like you trap power-ups can be traps in this game, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
creative.
Yeah.
But the overall feeling is, oh, they made it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good for anything as a player, so it's the only thing it can be is a trap.
Yeah. It reminds me, I mean, this was a motif of the time because, like you said, they were just trying shit. Mm-hmm. There was a early mid 80s where like the 2D formula wasn't completely set yet and they were trying shit. And then we have the early mid 90s where 3D wasn't set yet and they were trying shit. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely one of those things because if you have Carmageddon 2 where we had giant drunk funkin' groovin' pedestrians. Like they just threw shit in.
Right.
Bouncy suspension. Like that's not fun or good for anyone past the first time as a joke. You could have left that out and we'd have been fine.
Right. And the times it succeeded, like Carmageddon is the perfect example because Carmageddon was successful because it was so consistent in that kind of weird madness. Mm-hmm. But this is also being a Nazi shooter and being that ridiculous stuff, and it's dissonant. There's a dissonance about this game that I think probably is what prevented it from being one of the great games that people talk about all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just never put its pieces together tightly. It's too loose. It's too, and I don't mean that from a fun way. I mean, it just wasn't assembled well. The pieces are all good, but the assembly has failed.
And then they went on to make Duke Nukem 3D, which nailed that.
Nailed it.
Duke was perfect. Like the way it incorporated the kind of like subversiveness but into like levels that made sense and like were interesting and cohesive.
Yeah, there was a story told. And that was one of the other things I remember hearing from like an interview about this too, which was the Duke engine had been started when they switched gears. And they had to make a decision between, do we take this prototype Duke engine and make this game? It's not done yet. It's not ready. And I don't know what we'll get out of it. Or do we push Wolfenstein as far as we can? Mm-hmm. I'm glad they pushed Wolfenstein as far as they could.
Yeah.
Because I think it's far more interesting and it stands out in our memories more because of it. Mm-hmm. Here's dog mode.
Yep. Just like that's fun. Like,
yeah.
Do we just hate fun? Is that our problem?
I think as you get older, you start hating fun.
I don't hate dog mode. Is the thing. Like I like it, but just it just doesn't fit in with this world and this game.
They needed to, so here was I was thinking about this morning as I was grabbing coffee. We always think about like what would it take to fix this game? Mm-hmm. When we sort of dig on a game a little bit, what would it take to fix it? Not have them be human. If this was aliens or, robots in a sci-fi factory or wizards and demons, all of this would be fine. Everything else the same. Or just completely abandon the story and call it generic shooter 1.0 and let you know going in, you're not getting Doom. You're not getting a story about a space marine clearing his way through a base of demons from hell. Mm-hmm. You're getting a guy with a gun solving puzzles and shooting bad guys. And it doesn't matter what the bad guys look like. They could be blobs with one googly eye in the center. We're going to have fun. When they attempted to make it serious, they undercut their other part, or their other part has undercut the seriousness of the other side.
Yeah.
And no one stopped to go, this doesn't fit and doesn't feel good.
Right. Right.
And I don't mean makes you feel icky. I just mean it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. And the levels are kind of ugly. Like, these textures are really muddy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of ugly, but they're cool.
Yeah.
Like, they're cool from a design standpoint. And you have moments where these huge, like, multi-layer walls are all moving, and like those are good things that happen in this game.
Yeah. 100%.
But yeah, it's ugly.
That's where I found out how big the firebomb could shoot. I do like that when you die, it's just like, do you want to go back to the last place you saved? Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't make me like go back in and reload or anything. Look, you saved. Are you good with that? Or do you want to just keep going? Or what do you want to do? Because it has a live system, by the way.
Yeah, right. You just never know because you load. Yeah. You don't want to lose your sweet drunken missile launcher.
Yeah. If you don't save, it will run on the live system. Or if you choose not to go back to a save spot, it will run on the live system. But
yeah, who's going to do that?
Who would do that? Why would you do that?
I don't know. It makes collecting those onk things feel kind of useless. Yeah. I mean, it feels cool to get them because it's like how you know that you found something, mm-hmm. or you managed to hit a jump just right or whatever.
Yeah.
But the lives don't matter at all.
And again, it's where a lot of good ideas not put together well. The onks are a great way to do extra lives. Loading's a great way to make sure you haven't wasted my time as a player. Together, they don't fit.
Mm-hmm.
And I give them some slack for it being 1994, and this is new.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what would you do to fix this? I said I'd turn all the cultists into aliens. What would you do? More dog mode.
Yeah, I want to play the whole thing in dog mode, really. No, I don't know. Like, I would definitely... I would change a lot of the textures.
Yeah.
I would... I don't think this game would be this game if you made kind of linear levels without the jumping pads. Like, it wouldn't be the same game.
Agreed.
I would definitely somehow fix the tone, though. Probably I would change it so you're not battling these Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or quasi-Nazis.
I was going to say they're cultists. They're not really Nazis.
Yeah. Except that they are.
I was going to say, are we being unfair to Nazis? No. Anyway.
I don't know. I think I would just make the whole thing absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, just lean in.
Yep.
Again, rehire whoever did the sprites, though. Like, just tell them, we want something goofy. Something, you know, look, we're going to lose the serious tone of this. Oddly, keep the serious weapons. Like, one of the things I love. Notice my ammo count in the lower right. Infinite. Thank you.
Infinite machine gun ammo. Yeah, it's not infinite with your explosive or I think magic weapons.
Right.
Are not. Magic weapons are usually timed.
Magic weapons are timed. Your explosives have a count, but your pistols and your dual pistols and your machine guns, those are thing. One of the other things we didn't talk about, you can pick a character. Who did you pick for your character when you played?
Everybody picks IP freely. It's a funny joke.
Right.
You got to pick them. The characters are different.
Yes.
Like, they have different speed, different accuracy, and like different, like how much damage you take, I think.
Yeah.
But I always play as IP freely because, you know.
Why wouldn't you? If you're going to lean into the funny.
Right. Did you know, this is a fun fact, one of the ways you heal is you get priest porridge.
Mm-hmm.
If you shoot an explosive weapon next to the priest porridge, it heats it up, and it says, you got priest porridge hot, and it gives you more health than just the regular priest porridge.
You need to put that on the tip section of our Discord, because I did not know that.
Yeah. I had gotten priest porridge hot, but I never understood that it was something I was doing. Like that I was.
Yeah.
So I looked it up today when I was reading about this. I was like, oh, I was doing that. I'm great.
I wish there was a frozen weapon now so you could have priest porridge hot, priest porridge cold.
I know. Priest porridge in a pot 5 days old.
Yeah.
Right?
Missed opportunity. Missed.
Yeah.
Again, okay, so other thing we change. Freeze weapon just for the priest porridge joke.
Definitely.
What was your pinnacle?
I think probably when you start the game, it does the thing that so many games do, where you drop, if you like go backwards at the beginning, you can get your first missile weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where you get it. But getting the first missile weapon, blowing a guy up, getting ludicrous jibs, and it was like nostalgia, because that's what I remember about this game when I was young. And I didn't remember all the puzzles. I didn't remember hunting down keys, all that stuff. Otherwise, I think the other thing that I really liked was there's a mission where you flip a switch, because that's what you do in these games. You flip the switch when you find it.
I was going to say you're going to have to be more specific.
Yeah. And the walls move, and then like poisonous gas is released. And so you
fantastic.
have to run around and find the gas mask before you die. And I found it like right before I died, and I had this great moment where I like machine gunned my way out of the situation. And that was a really fun moment, because you can like see the vent in the floor, and like after you kind of figure it out, you know. I can't really think of a specific hit. There was a level I really didn't like where the whole center is the elevators that go up and down.
Yeah. And
you have to do stuff on the top, and you have to do stuff on the bottom. And when you're trying to do stuff on the bottom, if the elevators come down, you just get on them, and then you go back up. So having to like go back and forth to try to get through it. But then I remembered that the run in this game is ridiculously fast.
Too fast.
And I never had that problem again. But that was quite frustrating, and that was like a time that I felt like the multi-layered 3D aspects of it were more frustrating than a benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I give them a little slack on that because it was new. But I don't know. It doesn't always work.
Yeah. What was yours?
I'm trying to think. Like, my pit, oddly enough, wasn't a very big one. For as much as I'm like, oh, this game, there was a while I was recording this that every time I'd reload, it would start with auto run on. And I'd forget, and I'd be like flying into, and then dying, and then like, oh yeah, auto run was on. And then I have to restart and take auto run off. And it wasn't quite working, and I was like, oh God, that sucks. I think my pinnacle was getting to hear the John Romero God Hand noises.
Yeah,
like, and finding out that was what it is. So when you get that God Hand, and you saw me use it earlier in the video, like you put this glove on and you shoot these things out, and it goes. Oh. Apparently, that's Tom Hall mimicking John Romero playing Doom.
Because he made those noises.
He would make those noises while he played Doom, like. And I'm like, that is a fantastic, weird joke. Because otherwise, it would just, if you don't know that, it's just, what's going on here?
It's just really strange. Just like God mode is strange enough,
right? I do.
And yeah, the implication that John Romero is God is really funny to me too.
Yeah. I wonder how many more in-jokes we don't know about in here, because I'm sure there's more. That seems like Tom Hall's style, is to put, to be funny, to be weird.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I said to fix it, I didn't say like stitch the levels together better. I said make the aliens weird. Like you could go either way, but I would make I'd make the cultists into weird aliens.
And change the textures up.
And change the textures, yeah. But make it less serious. Have fun with it. It's the one spot where they showed restraint and it hurts it.
Right. They started with an idea and then globbed on all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they were so beholden to their original idea that they didn't understand that maybe we should let this go.
Kill your baby.
Kill your baby.
Kill your baby. I also think like there were a lot of different weapons, but also not. Like homing missiles and drunk missiles and just dumb missiles are all still just missiles.
Yeah. Even like the flamethrower is just just another missile. Like you don't feel like you're using a flamethrower.
Right. And I know it's a product of time and engine, but yeah, I don't know. I would have rather seen like even change the color of the sprite. Just do a palette swap and do a freeze one, or you know what I mean? Like there were options. There were things that could have been done without taking up too much more space, and
right.
Would have been nice. I'm not going to hold it against them.
Yeah.
Just would have been nice. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, not really. Yeah. We never got to play a multiplayer because apparently no one has done that work, and we're not going to do that work. So,
right. There might be some way to do it, but it's not in the game. Like if you go to do a network game, it's like you can run around by yourself so you can see what it looked like, but we have no in-game networking to work.
Yeah.
And that's when I went, well, okay. So if someone knows something, I guess let us know. Probably won't go back and use it, but maybe someone else will.
Yeah. I think there's a high-res version of this too, by the way. So if you're going to play it, like if this seems like it would be your jam, I would probably recommend just going straight to the high-res version if you can track it down. I heard rumblings about it. I didn't really go seek it out or anything.
Well, not only that, they're about to re-release it this year on Switch and other modern consoles.
Interesting.
So,
very interesting.
While I'm not like, here's a question for you: who would you recommend? So you were just saying like if this is your jam, but would you recommend people go play this from a fun standpoint, from a go look at a moment in time standpoint, from an anything like that?
Yes,
you would.
Okay, I would definitely recommend. I think this is worth a look. I think it's worth playing as kind of an intermediate between Wolfenstein and Doom. I think it's bizarre enough, and I think there's some really great moments where they set up scenes for you to watch people get murdered by like spinning blades and stuff. Some of the cultist dudes, and those things are fun. And I think they did. There's enough interesting stuff here that play the shareware version.
Yeah.
Play the first section. There's bosses. I didn't get to a boss. I just didn't get there. I didn't have time. But I think it's worth. I recommend people try it. What do you think?
I generally would say no. I would say like play Wolfenstein, play Doom, go right to Duke. If you do those three, you'll get the vibe of everything that's kind of happening in here. If you are a hardcore 90s FPS gameophile of some sort, well then yeah, but then you probably have already played it and you don't need us telling you to do it.
True. I think I disagree. I think it's weirder than Duke. I I think that you won't find this in those other games. You won't find this level of weirdness. You won't find the level puzzles. Now, everyone might not like that, and I definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is worth a play.
Worth checking. Okay.
But I do respect your opinion because I totally see what you're saying. Like in that pantheon of FPS games, there's a reason that it's always Wolfenstein, Doom, Duke Nukem 3D, and Rise of the Triad is just kind of this weird thing that happened off to the side.
It's remembered. I mean, there are a lot that aren't. There are a lot that aren't.
I had a lot of them.
Corridor 7 and Blake Stone.
Corridor 7 was what I was thinking when you said that.
There are a lot that just aren't mentioned. We should put Corridor 7 on the list and see if I hate it as much. But, like, I don't know. I see what you're saying. It's a funhouse first-person shooter. If you want to do that, if you're like, I'm itching for just some first-person shooting and puzzle solving and I don't need anything more than that,
yeah, because the action is not very good.
It's not.
I mentioned that earlier, but I do want to restate it because as a run and gun first-person shooter, I thought the bad guys were fairly impotent.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like I was concerned about them, and you don't really get great feedback when you're getting shot. You know, pretty standard stuff for this generation of game.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my complaints. Like, I would like to see the screen flash or something, because sometimes I'm getting shot, and it's only after my bullets are done firing that I'm hearing me get hit. I'm like, well, now I've lost half my health. You know?
Right, you look down at your health jelly beans and you're like, oh man, when did that happen? Like, I only have 2 health jelly beans left.
Mm-hmm. And then I'd eat the porridge and it'd give me like almost nothing back. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Heat it up.
Gotta heat it up. Can't eat it cold.
Don't want it cold.
Nope. Yeah, the feedback is another thing I'd change. Like, there needs to be a little more feedback. I want to feel the guns better. I want a little shake, a little something. I know you're not going to get the Doom shotgun feel, but I want to feel something.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say about Rise of the Triad.
Yeah, me too. I want to say more, but what you going to do?
Yeah.
All right.
Try it or don't. That's our advice.
Did you just say Triad or don't?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I missed that fantastic joke.
Oh, my God. Well, I got it for you. I caught it on the rebound. There you go. Triad or don't. That's our, if you want a review, Triad or don't.
The most wishy-washy review ever.
It fits it's on brand for us. All right.
Totally.
Short game next month, or in 2 weeks, I should say.
Wee why wee?
Wee why.
Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee. Still looking forward to that.
Me too.
And then our long game, Maniac Mansion.
Oh.
It's October.
Yep, we got to do a spooky game in October, and Maniac Mansion, like, come on.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, we're going to love it. This is Maniac Mansion. It's fantastic.
I'm going to try and get my daughter to play it. So I will have some interesting feedback from other people in the...
Great. That's a good idea.
Yeah. She just finished Broken Age and loved it. So she's into point and clicks right now. So this will be a good test of can she handle a retro.
Yeah. This is a good like start for this kind of game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So that'll be fun. We talked a little bit about our live streams. They will be coming back soon-ish.
Yeah, we're just making some decisions about what that looks like.
Yeah, what that looks like.
We didn't. I think Deathlord ended kind of abruptly. Like, I don't think we really thought through what was next, or I don't think we appreciated how quickly it was coming to an end.
I don't think we appreciated how quickly Deathlord was coming to an end. We also, like, Deathlord was just a way for me to get you to actually play all of Deathlord. I had it on track for us to play, like, this December and went, he's not going to finish it in a month. Like, or 2 months, or 3 months.
Right.
Like, it's just not going to happen. So I decided to kind of take you through it and do a live stream. And we didn't think, honestly, I didn't think people would be interested in watching us play an old CRPG for 40 hours, 45 hours.
Yeah.
But you are, and we had a blast, so we'll keep doing it. But it does mean we got to figure something out. So,
yeah.
All right.
We've got our big brains pointed at that problem full-time, 24/7.
24/7.
Taking a leave of absence from work.
I was going to say, I'm getting yelled at by my boss. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to figure out what after Deathlord. And he's like, you beat Deathlord? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, you can stay.
You can't fire someone.
Can't fire someone to beat Deathlord. Can't lose that kind of brain power.
No. And patience.
And patience. Let me tell you about the Doors dungeon. Anyway.
Still have nightmares about that dungeon.
Yeah. All right. I think we've stalled and hemmed and hawed long enough. We'll let everybody go.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Thank everybody for watching. If you still are, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.